This is a 2017 Mustang Shelby GT350, which is owned by Troy Mihalicz of College Ford Lincoln. Not that we were going to drive at 200 kilometers an hour down the Quartet Trail, but this baby is a fully track-ready car that can be driven daily, and it's got power. Under the hood is a 5.2-liter flat plane crank V8 with 526 horsepower, which is unique to the Shelby GT350. It is the most powerful naturally aspirated engine in Ford's history. People know you're coming. Where Ferraris have a flat plane crank which gives them a unique sound and allows a high redline, a normal Mustang or Camaro redlines at about 6 to 6,500 RPM. The Shelby redlines at 8,250 RPM. I had a lot of fun revving up the motor. Don't tell Troy. Other features include a line lock that allows you to lock the front wheels to do wicked burnouts. Magneride suspension, it monitors and adjusts itself 1,000 times per second. A unique wind tunnel designed rear spoiler that optimizes top speed and downforce. And for you people who are technically inclined, front 6-piston 15.5-inch Brembo calipers and multi-piece cross-drilled and vented brakes, and 4-piston Brembo vented cross-drilled 15-inch rear brakes, a Shelby front splitter, wide body aluminum vented front fenders, lightweight vented aluminum hood, undercarriage belly pan, heads-up LED shift indicator displayed on the windshield, huge 19 by 10.5 front and 19 by 11-inch rear wheels with Michelin Super Sport tires, plus tuned and electronically adjustable steering, suspension, exhaust, and stability control, pre-programmed track and drag strip mode. Whew! Now for me, who's not technical, this is a hot blue Mustang that handles incredibly well, stops on a dime, and attracts a lot of attention. The perfect car for our very special guests. Two super talented actors performing in the upcoming New West Theater show, $1 Million Quartet, Devon Brayne and Matt Cage. The show runs at the newly renovated Yates Theater September 12th to 29th. It's based on the true story of one day in December 1956 when Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Carl Perkins gathered at Sun Records to make music together, and they made rock and roll history. Devon plays the part of Johnny Cash, and Matt plays the part of Elvis. The real Johnny Cash and Elvis would love the car we're driving in today. Woo. That'll work. Yep. Elvis, Johnny, you ready to go for a ride? What? Cup of coffee? Sorry, what? You want a what? Cup of coffee? Yeah. Come on in, guys. All right.
All right. Let's see what this thing can do.
Let's see if we can do this.
Get out of a parking lot.
We should,
start there.
Matt Cage, you are playing Elvis in $1 Million Quartet. Devon Brayne, you are Johnny Cash in $1 Million Quartet.
Whoa, yeah.
Correct.
And it rocks and rolls like this car.
That's right. All right. Here we go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do this.
You couldn't have sprung for a convertible, eh? Yeah.
So if it's only the two of you, I guess this is the $500,000 duo that we're doing today.
Yeah.
Well, I like to think we actually account for a little more than half.
Easy now.
You know, we're about 550, 600.
Yeah, that's good.
Don't tell the other
You count
guys.
for inflation.
Yeah.
So this is kind of cool, because Devon, you're a New West guy, been there for a number of years, done a bunch of shows.
Yeah.
This is a scripted show, which is something New West hasn't done in a while, like this, like a musical show.
Correct. Yeah. The
so that's kinda cool.
format and structure is a little bit different from what we're used to. You go back quite a ways, long before my time with the company, and I guess they did a couple, but it's been quite a long time since they've done something of this kind of stature.
Yep.
Typically we do like the musical comedy reviews and stuff, but as far as kind of a linear through line or plot line,
Right.
this is kind of the first of its kind for the company, which is pretty exciting.
And Matt, you're from Ontario, so this is, and you've been doing this show off and on in different places, eh? So
That's right.
what do you know about New West, and what do you know about Lethbridge?
Well, what I know is the last 7 days or so. My first time in Lethbridge.
Yeah.
I've been walking everywhere around this town, so it's very flat, which I enjoy for the walk.
Good.
But it's a really nice town. Everybody seems so friendly. Everybody at New West has been so great to work with.
Nice.
It's a great cast too, because I mean, most of the people are local, so it's nice to see towns like this. I'm from a town similar in Ontario,
Right.
Belleville.
Yeah. Belleville, yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to see smaller towns actually put on like top quality stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Could we sing a song while we're driving?
Oh God. Yeah.
We could.
Let's see.
We generally don't sing though.
Yeah, let's.
No.
You start something. Give us something.
Okay, let's do some Don't Be Cruel.
Okay.
You know I can be found sitting all alone.
You guys have an edge on me.
You can't come around. At least please telephone. Don't be cruel. You know that part.
That's the one.
To a heart that's true. I don't want nobody love. Baby, it's just you I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
You got to do the drop down.
Hey, Johnny, come on, you got to have one.
Hey, get a rhythm. When you get the blues, come on and get a rhythm.
Up.
When you get the blues, the little shoeshine boy, he never gets low down, but he's got the dirtiest job in town, bending low at the people's feet on a windy corner of a dirty street. Well, I asked him while he shined my shoes, how'd you keep from getting the blues? He grinned as he raised his little head, he popped the shoeshine wagon, well, then he said, get a rhythm.
Hey.
That was supposed to be a trio and turned out to be just me there, team.
I don't know.
I was on percussion.
I didn't know Don't Be Cruel, and you made me do that one.
You knew Don't Be Cruel. You stopped at the
Two
part I knew.
lines. I know the chorus. Woo.
All right, that's good. No, are those both in the show?
Neither,
actually.
Neither are.
We don't want to spoil too much.
No,
so we'll
no,
give
yeah.
the other hits for theirs, I guess.
That's cool.
That's amazing. That's just, it's a testament to how famous those guys were and how prolific they were that two of their greatest songs aren't even in the show and it still rocks.
Wow.
true.
Wow.
Right?
What has been the reaction for you doing $1 Million Quartet in other cities to this show?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, it really is an ensemble show, so some people will come because they love Johnny or they love Elvis, and then they show up and they go, man, I never realized how great Jerry Lee was, or I didn't know about Carl Perkins. And so people get so jazzed up because they're kind of like being wowed by things they didn't expect.
Yeah.
And the show's got a lot of meat to it. It's not just all fluff and fun. It actually gets a little dark. There's some conflict, and then there's some nice resolution.
Is it conflict between the actors themselves, or just what their situation is?
Between us and the audience.
Oh.
No, just kidding. No, yes, it's between some of the actors. There's some things that are factual in there, and other things because it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
They've kind of manufactured, but it's done very, very well. It's very well written. So people come expecting just a good old fun time, and then they're entertained because there's drama,
Nice.
and then it just rocks. So
Yes.
people just leave there just going, oh my God.
And you guys all play your own instruments. You're the band too, as well, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
What did Elvis actually play? He was a guitar player, but I don't know if he's a good one. Was he?
No, like he got better through the years.
Yeah.
But he was a basic, yeah. He couldn't play like this car drives, but he could play his general chords and get along. You know.
And you're playing that as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would argue that Elvis and Johnny kind of we get away with murder a little bit in this show. Where,
I didn't do the front end, right?
Don't tell the guy who owns this thing that I did what I just did. Okay, thank you very much.
Don't tell him anything.
And there
We'll just
we go.
edit that part
It
out.
might be on film, but
Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Let's go into the Java.
should we retake that entrance? Then pull it up.
Welcome to Jabba the Hutt, guys. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Cheers, thanks for having us.
All right, Matt. Let's get to you again, if we could. Just why Elvis? Why did you get into Elvis? I mean, I was thinking that Elvis has been dead longer than he's been alive. Almost. Like next year, I think it's going to be about the tie. He was 42, and it'll be 42 years. So, I mean, I don't think you're 50. So, what makes
Not quite.
what got you into saying this Elvis guy's pretty cool?
Well, Elvis was somebody I was drawn to from a young age. My mom had some records of his, And I remember she had the '68 Comeback Special record, right?
Aloha from Hawaii.
Well,
no,
before that, yeah.
Oh, that's the
and
one.
I was intrigued by that a little later as well. She had this record, and it was Elvis wearing this white suit, and behind him, in giant letters, like as big as a building, it said Elvis in red neon letters. And he's just standing there all regal, and I thought, who is this guy? He must be pretty special to have like this setup. And so I was sort of intrigued immediately, and then replays of the Aloha were on. He's in the big jumpsuit and the great big mutton chops, and everybody's going crazy for him. I thought, there's something about this guy, and I was just always intrigued. And then I would start liking the music, and it was never cool to be like, oh, I like Elvis. When I was growing up.
When everybody was loving In Sync.
Or whatever.
However old you are.
The
Anyway.
music of the day. And so I was sort of a closet Elvis fan for a long time, and then I went to Graceland, and I saw everything that was going there, and I was infected.
How magical does it become in Graceland? I would feel that I'd feel something, because I am a big Elvis fan. What were you feeling?
Definitely, when you walk into the doors of Graceland for the first time, it's like you put your hand on the doorknob, you open the door, and you think, this is just what Elvis did. And you see all his personal effects everywhere, and it's like, you can't go upstairs, right? Because it's still closed off in respect
his
to
body's still
him.
up there.
It's still there. But you just, the stairs are right there, and you can almost envision him like coming down the stairs, like, hey, welcome, So you get that real connection, and that's when I was sold.
Yeah. Why do we love our idols? What is it?
Well, I know for Elvis it's pure charisma.
Yeah.
The guy was just charismatic as hell. Like, he just had it all.
Yeah.
So
what do you think?
That's $1 million question.
Yeah. I mean, why do we I don't know if Paul McCartney walked in right now, I'd just be going,
Yeah, there's very few. Actually, I had this conversation with my brother not too long ago about there's very few celebrities that I would trouble to actually ask for an autograph or even just like a genuine conversation or something like that. Absolutely, top of the list. I don't know what it is about them. It's just like with Johnny, I've been saying for years that I was born in the wrong era.
Yeah.
I should be my grandma's age in the grand scheme of things. To be kind of the high school senior into your early 20s for the mid 50s, taking Betty Lou in your Letterman jacket to the malt shop, borrowing Dad's car. That is like the epitome of what I would have wanted, being raised that way. I don't know. It's a line in the show, but I don't actually know if it's a real word or not. But humbleity.
Humbleity.
Yeah. He's a humble man, and he didn't necessarily know what he had until he was already in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And just that steady and true trained voice. And I didn't start singing until I was a little bit older, kind of in my late teens, after my voice dropped, and then that was kind of the timbre that just kind of suited.
Yeah.
There's just something about his music, his style, his humbleity is just very admirable, I think, to me.
Did you get the part because you wanted the part of Johnny Cash, or did they just say, here's a part, I think you could do it? How did that work?
I definitely auditioned for Johnny. He's been my number one for years and years.
Yeah.
I've had him kind of in my back pocket for different open mics and things like that for the last decade. So I did primarily go for Johnny. I love Elvis too, and I think from a vocal perspective, we kind of suit each other as well. But Johnny was definitely my number one, and I put all my eggs in that basket and said, I'm happy to take anything, but definitely the cards were in my favor, and ended up getting what I wanted. So.
And how powerful was his last little video that he had?
That was the first. That was not only one of the first songs of his I did, but one of the first songs in general that I covered was "Hurt," the Nine Inch Nails cover.
Yeah.
The video, it's chilling almost, because it chronicles his whole kind of career and the mistakes he made and the faults he had and some of the greatness that he did. But yeah, in his later years, I don't necessarily know why, but he kind of just handpicked, and they're often either metal covers or kind of darker alternative artists that he would do. And I feel like if John were 21 in 2018, that's the music he'd be putting out.
Wow.
He's kind of the unofficial godfather of grunge and kind of punk rock in that respect. That just didn't have that back then. So he kind of pioneered that whole trajectory of what we know now as metal and punk.
You know, the vocal styles couldn't be more different between Elvis and Johnny. Like, Johnny had a style. I wouldn't call him a great singer.
Sure.
You know, Elvis was a great singer. He had the gospel. But there's, again, you throw in that charisma word, right? For both of you.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, I think, was so special because he didn't have the glitz and the glam. He didn't hide behind anything.
Yeah.
You know, he was just like, I'm Johnny Cash, and if you don't like it, right?
Stuff it.
And and that was appealing, and he pulled it off. And I think I'm the same way. Like Elvis, #1, love Johnny. And in fact, when I was auditioned for the very first one I did, I was asked to audition as Johnny as well.
Really? Oh.
So I walked in to do Elvis, and they're like, "Can you do Johnny?" And I'm like, I guess I could try. And,
Let me drop it down a little bit.
So then I was thinking, boy, you know, that'd be kind of fun too. So I think they're so yin and yang, but yet they're so similar at the same time in a lot of ways.
You do a lot of Elvis tributes, and we're getting back to the fame thing. Do you feel a bit of his fame when your audiences see you as Elvis? And what's your response to that?
There's certainly times.
Yeah.
There's definitely shows where I've done where, you know, for whatever reason, there's maybe an outdoor venue where there's a few thousand people there and big sound and people are screaming and stuff, and you think, oh my God, like this is a little bit of what it was like to be him. But then on the flip side of that, I might be in a retirement home or something the next day. And
they don't
like
care.
12 people, and you know they love it. They love it.
Yeah.
But it's such a subdued, such a different feeling, and you know. But it's also great because you see the memories coming back to these people, and they love it as well. So, but to experience just a little bit of what it was like, it's amazing that Johnny had the same thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing these guys ever had a level head on their shoulders.
Well, that's what I often wonder about these guys. I mean, Elvis virtually he was secluded because he could never go anywhere, and if he went anywhere, he'd have to rent a movie theater just so he could go and see it. So I can't imagine what that lifestyle would be like to be that famous, to not be able to go anywhere. What do you think about?
Well, I think, I mean, there's so many stories of him renting an amusement park, for $2,500 back in 1956 or whatever. But then I think it's very interesting about Elvis in the 1968 comeback special. He'd been in the movies for so long, he was sort of out of the public eye. People thought he sort of lost it, and he was still in his head. He was still as famous as he was in those early years. And there's a great story when he was doing that special. This guy who produced it, Steve Binder, pushed Elvis to let's dress you differently. Let's do some heavy, let's do some rock. Let's do some stuff that you used to do, because you're not what you were. And Elvis thought, no, I'm still there. And he took him out on the Hollywood Strip, on the Hollywood Boulevard, and said, people are walking past you. They don't even people were ignoring Elvis. That's Elvis standing there.
Wow.
And so that's what really pushed him in that 68 comeback special to, don that black leather suit and really bring himself back. And it made him really nervous because he didn't know how people were going to react to him.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what made him legendary, because he was able to recognize that, you gotta keep pushing the envelope.
So if you met Elvis today, I mean, well, he wouldn't say much, but but if you ever were able to meet Elvis in his day, what would you want to say to him?
I'd be like, are we cool? Yeah. Is this all right what I'm doing here?
Making my livelihood on your good fortune.
Yes.
Right?
And that's true, because Elvis's legacy just continues to create jobs, to make money. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an industry. It's just so many people working because of one man. Everybody from me to people who write plays like we're in, people who work at Graceland. It's just such an industry. And my main thing is I would just like to know that he's okay with what I'm doing. I always try to do everything as tastefully as I can. Never make a mockery of the man.
Well,
And,
I was going to ask you that. Do you intentionally try to be Elvis, or are you a version of Elvis?
I'm definitely a version of.
Yeah.
I think anybody who tries to replicate it 1,000% or 100%, it's going to come off as false.
Yeah.
And the thing I really liked about Elvis is he could cut up on stage, and he had a great personality. He loved to laugh, and make people laugh, and that's how I am too.
Yeah.
So I always filter everything. If I try to do things as though, what would Elvis do if you were here in this situation singing this song?
Well, if you're portraying someone who's genuinely your icon, you don't want to err on the side of parody.
Right.
That's going to be, you want to be true to the man and do him justice instead of just like, this is a caricature of what I know you to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you ever shot out a TV set?
No, they're too expensive. And in Canada, we don't have that same access to the guns.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Slingshot off the flat screen, maybe.
Devon, let's talk about your trajectory from New West, and you did some ships.
Yeah.
So tell us about that career, that side of, and your wife Jocelyn helped you, or you were there as well with her at some point. So take us a little bit through that.
Well, I started with New West in 2011, and I did just upwards of like a dozen shows. Last one kind of ending around 2014, and then we skipped up to Calgary, trying to kind of establish ourselves within that community. And the first audition that we did was for Disney, and I landed it, which therefore made Calgary kind of a moot point. And then, I worked for the cruise line as part of the cast with them for two stints, 2 8-month stints. And it was challenging at first because I did the first one without my wife, which is kind of the first time we ever had any sort of long-standing distance between us. So luckily we were fortunate enough that she was able to also get hired by Disney for the second time round, and we spent that kind of year together. Most of what I can talk about, I actually can't talk about.
Like Disney stuff? Or?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Oh, really?
At large, I'm not currently an employee with Disney, but to keep in good standing with them, I have to kind of keep things under wraps.
Disney is really strict about that.
Yeah,
I know that.
It's all about, without sounding too cheesy, it's keeping the integrity or keeping the magic, right? You want to keep that for future generations so that they don't.
Walt really frozen?
That I actually don't even know.
Guess what? I have a picture of my brother being held by Walt Disney back in 1957 or something.
Whoa!
Yeah, he was wandering through. Walt was. And my brother was there, and they took a picture with him. Yeah, in the where was it? The jungle book scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah. Anyway, side note.
Yeah, no
Carry
worries.
on. Back to Disney.
I worked for them for a couple of years, doing a multitude of different things, and just kind of with the natural flow of where we were headed, we thought 2 years was ample, and came back and wanted to kind of get some music things going. So we actually moved back down to Lethbridge for a brief little stint and played some music with some friends, and then we wanted to go back kind of to square one where we were back in 2015, and go back to Calgary and try it again. And things are just kind of coming to fruition as we speak. So,
So you're looking for more cruise ships, or
we're going to kind of put that to rest for a little bit.
Yeah.
We would definitely entertain the idea of going back, just probably in a different capacity, maybe more along the lines of the onboard kind of musical entertainment.
Ship captain, maybe?
Yeah, that's a little bit more schooling under my belt that I'm not so much willing to do. Ship life is definitely an acquired taste. It's not for everyone, but there are definitely pros and cons to both, and met some wonderful people and had some pretty crazy, remarkable experiences that can't really be touched.
So when you think about what you've done with your career so far, what do you think about and moving forward? Do you take that experience and say, I know what I can do, I know what I'm capable of, I can have a career in this?
Absolutely. It was hard to return from Disney and not view it as kind of a lateral move, being that I'm now back in my hometown, and it wasn't so much a stepping stone as I might have wanted it to be or projected it to be at the time. But grand scheme of things, it was definitely an experience. It's something on my resume. It's something that I can definitely take. And I did many different facets of performance. I did costume work, presenting
face characters that kids know and love and can recognize, and provided voice work for certain characters. So there's many different kind of facets of our industry that I've now been able to kind of at least dip my foot in, or get my foot in the door for that matter, that I can now kind of carry on and hopefully pursue now that I'm off the ship.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool for you. So Matt, because you didn't start off doing this. Well, tell us a little bit about you getting into this Elvis thing.
Yeah, it was a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, I was always dreadfully shy of singing.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I don't want people to hear me. Though I felt I could sing. I remember when I was a kid, I was singing in the shower. My sister came knocking on the door.
What are you
nice
doing in there?"
singing, man. And I thought, oh, that didn't feel good. I'm just gonna play hockey. So I was always a sports kid growing up, and then I got into like drama in high school, and I always enjoyed that. Ended up in community theater, so I did some of that, and then started working. I was working in call centers. I was a manager in call centers for a long time, and that was really fulfilling.
I'd hate to have that job. Sorry, but anyway, carry on.
Yeah, it's very soul sucking, but it paid the bills.
Yes, sure.
Paid the bills, but yeah, it took a toll, right?
Yeah,
It's all about numbers and metrics, and it's just
Hard to love something you're not passionate about doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all the while, I kind of had this passion for Elvis.
Yeah.
And all this, so I thought, well, you know what, like maybe I could do something with it. I ended up switching into investments. I was selling mutual funds and life insurance for a little while, and then
Reacts.
all the reputable stuff.
Yeah.
And then back in Ontario, they have the Collingwood Elvis Festival, which is the world's largest Elvis festival, right here in Canada.
Wow.
And so they had about 160 guys. 160, up to 200 even, coming out to this festival, and I thought, I'm gonna go check it out because everybody's been telling me to go see this thing. So I go see it, and I thought, you know what, I could do that. And there were some really, really good guys, and I thought, I'll never be able to do it that well. But then there was really terrible guys too. But everybody loved them no matter what.
Yeah,
so I thought, I belong here. So I signed up, and I practiced for an entire year. I was in front of my mirror and like, oh, come on, we're, trying to figure it all out. And I film it, and I would look at the film, and oh boy, I got a lot of work to do, and I keep working, and I still have those films, by the way.
Wow.
So they're pretty scary. I review them every so often.
Yeah.
If I need to if I need to drag myself down and give myself an ego boost at the same time, I go, oh my God, I'm so bad and I'm so awkward, but I'm much better now.
Oh, that's cool.
Which tells me I always need to keep improving. That's a whole other thing. But
There's always growth.
But yeah, so I went and did that festival. I ended up 4th place my first year in a non-professional division.
Pretty nice. That's pretty good.
And then I had delusions of grandeur going in. I'm going to go in. I'm going to win. Everybody's going to be blown away. But the best thing was that I didn't win, and it made me work again that entire year to go back.
Yeah.
And I worked throughout that year, like right away. People started calling me, come do this show, come do this. And so the next year I won the non-pro.
Nice.
And then the year after that I won the professional division.
Wow,
so
fantastic.
And it's just been
What's
go
your go-to Elvis song?
It changes all the time. A lot depends too, because I run the gamut of Elvis's career. So I do the early stuff, the leather suit, and then into the jumpsuit. Because despite what people think, Elvis was actually very slim and very, he had a lot of prowess when he started in that jumpsuit. So I love that era.
Yeah.
So I mean, Suspicious Minds is always,
call it a trap.
Right?
Yep.
You sing that live and you get the band going and people love it. So
You know what song, the Aloha special, the American Trilogy, gets me every time.
Powerful.
Wow. You know that one.
I am not as well versed in Elvis as either of you are. But,
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That's the American Trilogy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's cool. I want to talk about the other two characters in the show a little bit. Jerry Lee Lewis.
They don't matter.
They didn't show up. Couldn't fit him in the Mustang. But Jerry Lee Lewis and Carl Perkins, significant people of their time as well.
Definitely.
Maybe not have the same kind of careers as you guys did in the Johnny Cash and Elvis thing. But Jerry Lee Lewis, The guy has to be a phenomenal pianist. Who's your actor in the show?
His name is Hunter.
Okay. Don't know his last name.
Semrau.
Semrau.
Semrau?
Semrau.
I'm sorry, Hunter.
Okay.
I probably butchered it. He is a...
Edit it.
Dub it over afterwards.
Yep.
He's I didn't know him from Adam coming into the production. He's from Medicine Hat, as far as I know.
Yep.
He's an opera major actually with the university. So he's a voice
Whole
major.
lot of shaking going on.
Yeah,
he
it's so
can
perfect for Jerry Lee. No, actually, it was quite. It took me aback actually hearing him the first time round.
Yeah.
He's 19.
Yeah.
He's playing 2021, so he's right around that same era. Voice major who's well versed in piano, but kind of put it to rest around the age of 12, I think, as far as I know. And so he's kind of just picked it back up and has really been hitting it hard all summer to try and get in condition and shape for the role. And he has taken it and run with it. He's quite phenomenal.
Cool.
But yeah, very green on the scene, and I'm excited to see where he goes from this point out, because I think it's a great little opening door for him, because I think the community is going to take to him really well, and hopefully the company does too, and gives him some further work, because I think he'd be a great addition to the family.
And the Carl Perkins, for people who might not be aware, Carl Perkins was pretty significant in his time.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And just to quickly touch on the Jerry Lee, Hunter's going to bring such a nice energy to that role, because
He's a spinning top.
And when people see this show, which hopefully everybody does,
Yes, absolutely.
like Jerry Lee is a scene stealer in this show, and he is going to just.
He's got the humor, he's got the voice, he's got the chops.
Yeah,
like
he's going to be amazing.
Cool.
He's a triple threat for sure.
Do they touch on him marrying his cousin in the show?
No, but they kind of allude at, like, they don't come out and say it, but they sort of allude at some of his
Indiscretions?
indiscretions.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah, because I think that all happened afterward.
Okay.
After this moment.
The script is written in such a way, it's quite smart that it touches on a lot of the kind of, everyone and their dog knows this little tidbit about that character, so that it's kind of just a way of like, oh, you wrote that in quite nicely so that it's seamless in the character arc. And then there's I walked away a little more educated in all things Elvis, all things Jerry Lee, the characters I didn't so much know about. I've been following Johnny for years and years, so I know I'm not often surprised by facts about him, but the script definitely touches on a lot of different kind of points of their life throughout.
So back to the Carl Perkins.
Yeah.
So give us a little sense of him.
Yeah, so that's Kevin Owen Clark. He's from Toronto, and the funny thing about him is he's usually an acoustic guitar player, and so he's much like Hunter. He's brushing up on these skills. So he's picked up the electric, and he's slaying it so far. He's doing great. He's a fantastic actor. He's been in a lot of different productions, but this is his first time in this show. But I think in a lot of ways, like, where Devon and I, we have to live up to this, like, the legend, the icon that are these guys. And same with Hunter to a fair extent with Jerry Lee. Kevin has the sort of opportunity to almost introduce Carl to people.
Sure.
Because some people might have heard of him, a lot of people haven't heard of him, don't know that he wrote Blue Suede Shoes. And so he really has this opportunity to take this sort of blank sheet and really kind of make it his own and bring that to light. And I think he's going to do a great job.
Good stuff.
He's got great acting chops, and he's such a nice guy. And I'm really enjoying working with him and the whole cast.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was saying, to touch on what we were talking about in the car earlier, Matt and I kind of get away with murder from a musical perspective, because we're the rhythm guitarists, so we do a lot of the boom chickas, and that's about it. And Carl's got to be a virtuoso, so Kevin's got his work cut out for him in that regard, but he is definitely owning up to the challenge, or stepping up to the challenge. And I think we're all very focused on doing the boys justice and telling their story as authentically as we possibly can.
Good. Final thoughts about the show. I mean, the asbestos is cleared out of the eights. That's good. When it's all ready to go, it's going to be ready for us. Best sell job about $1 million Quartet. Go.
Like our best pitch?
Yes, there it is.
I mean, yeah, if anything.
It stars Devon Brayne.
Yay!
What more do you need?
That's a bit much. Yeah, I mean, there is local talent, we'll put it that way. Local talent, a lot of familiar faces, both from the band and onstage perspective. It is a new a new format that New West hasn't exactly explored in the last little while. There's the really cheesy. There's laughter. There's tears. There's it runs the gambit from a comedy, drama, musical, infused all in one, in a brand new, beautiful space. That's going to be a nice way to watch theater.
Nice.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Matt?
What he said. All those things,
Yeah.
100%. With just the understand that the audience will come away from that going, oh my God, we're gonna go see that again. So many people come to this show multiple times because, yes, there's a great story and there's great music, but it ramps up so nicely. By the end, people will be, dare I say, in a frenzy.
Nice.
People get up on their feet and it's just clapping and laughing and having a good time with
One
it.
extra thought to piggyback on that too. One thing that I didn't realize was within this script is that we're not exclusive to singing songs made famous by our artists. We often cover a handful of other songs from other artists that are being current of the 1956 time. So if anything, you can walk away from the play and say, I didn't know that song. And if anything, you get more educated and now have a new plethora of music that you weren't exposed to previously that you can now enjoy.
Cool. Dare I ask you to do this? Sing Glory Hallelujah with me right now?
No, because I don't know it. I went, oh.
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
You're singing the Old Testament version.
Yes. Glory. Come on now. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
We harmonized there.
All right.
Right?
Hey, thank you very
All right,
much.
cheers.
Thank you.